So I first met Jerry in over 4 decades ago at a Canadian National. And Bill Eckett and I were doing our pre-national together, and we were parked next to each other, and Jerry was parked down the line a little bit, and I turned to Bill, I said, "Who is that guy over there?" And he said, "You mean that guy with the long hair?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's a hippie trainer from out west." So he told me his name. So I walked over and I introduced myself and I said, "Hi, I'm Dave Rorem. Are you Jerry Patopea?" And he looks at me and he goes, "What?" And like every dog trainer, I thought he couldn't hear. I said, "I'm Dave Rorem. Are you Jerry Patopea?" And he goes, "Nice try, pal, but the name is Patopea." So I looked over at Eckett, and of course Eckett's laughing. And if you know Bill Eckett, he could set you up better than anybody. That was my first introduction to Uncle Jerry. But when you look in the program, Jerry started in the 1960s, and I don't think anybody in this room really was probably training retrievers back in 1960, but Jerry was, and he progressed through the years. And in the 70s, he ended up at Rex Carr, and during that time in the 70s, he joined 2 other hippies, training at the same time, Delma Hazard and Lance Brown. And if you know all 3 of them, if you can envision that, and my really good friend Bill Sargenti said, "I want you to imagine these 3 hippies sitting at the picnic table at CL2 at lunchtime. You'd wonder what they're eating, drinking, and smoking." Anyway, whatever Jerry and Delma and Lance had in their secret sauce, it obviously worked, because Lance is in the Hall of Fame, Delma's got 2 dogs in here, and Jerry is now in here. So whatever it is, Jerry, you may want to share that with some of the younger generation as we go along. Jerry's influence really in the PRTA was unfound. I mean, he was the founder of really a lot of what our organization stands for. And during one of the early meetings, when Jerry was sharing his aggressive opinion, a young trainer was sitting next to me, and he bumps me and he said, "Man, this guy is really opinionated." And I said, "Yeah, isn't it wonderful?" And I said, "The longer you're in this organization, the more you're going to appreciate those opinions." And Paul Sletton was that young trainer, and he did appreciate it, because he took over as president and kept Jerry's opinions going. So it was a well-founded move. One thing amongst Jerry's accomplishments, and you look in the book, his record is unmatched in the West Coast, and it's really a phenomenal thing. But one thing that really struck me when I read his initial bio was how well he had preserved some of the West Coast field trial judging communities and the clubs. He's an integral part in the national scenes, the national amateur scenes, with property, with training grounds. If we didn't have Jerry, I'd be real concerned that the West Coast wouldn't have the necessary power to continue, and he's really done a wonderful job there. And our training group, we've got a wonderful pre-national training group of Al Arthur, Alan and Gwen Pleasant, my daughter Ty, Jerry and Jane, and we marvel every day at Jerry and what he does and how he does it. He never stops. He continually pushes the envelope. Every day, at the end of the day, Alan and Al and Ty and I are off either looking for tomorrow's test or doing something else. And the joke amongst us is, where's Jerry? And we all say the same thing. He's got poor Jane out doing walking singles. Does it every night, every morning. And my daughter Ty has finally said, Dad, I gotta take over for Jane. Jerry's gonna kill her. But anyway, through all of Jerry's accomplishments and everything about him, I think 3 words really define Jerry, and that is Hall of Famer. And it's my honor to introduce the newest professional trainer to the Hall of Fame, Jerry Patopea.